took one of their kings as a slave, right?
They carried away captive
Lot.
the whole, like Sodom and Gomorrah as a fucking whole, man.
Yeah. Showing you that they were weak. They were weak countries. So if they were weak, whom these nations made war against.
Right here, look, that's the spirit. I was already in it. Yeah, I was already in it. Didn't even know it. This is Genesis 14:1. It says, "And it came to pass in the days of Amraphel, king of Shinar, Arioch, king of Elasar, Kedar-laomer, king of Elam, and Tidal, king of nations." So you had this. You had back then. You had the Axis and the Allies. You know, the same way you got like NATO and the EU, and then you got the BRICS. This is pretty much the same thing. You got this. The different nations that I just named were in league with each other. It says that these made war with Bera, king of Sodom, and with Bersha, king of Gomorrah, and Shinab, king of Admah, and Shemeber, king of Zeboim, and the king of Bela, which is Zoar. All these were joined together in the Vale of Siddim, which is the Salt Sea.
And you know what's crazy about that? All them countries that were in league right here with Sodom and Gomorrah, all them countries got destroyed with Sodom and Gomorrah because that fucking wine got spewed into them other countries.
The neighboring cities.
You know, which these were Hamites, man.
Yeah. These are like the Canaanites. It says, now this is why it happened. It breaks it down. It says 12 years they served Kedar-laomer, and in the 13th year they rebelled. So they were in Sodom and Gomorrah, and those different cities were in subjection to those first nations that were named off. And it said in the 13th year they rebelled. It says, and in the 14th year came Kedar-laomer and the kings that were with him, and smote the Rephaims in Ashtaroth Karnaim, and the Zuzims in Ham, and the Emims in Shaua Kiriathim. Forgive me for these names. You know, this hard.
And when you look at history of those names that he named off, the Rephaims, the Zumims, the Emims, or whatever, those are all giants, man.
Yeah.
Those were all the giants that every nation had part of taking down. Because Esau was killing giants, Jake was killing giants. You had other Ishmaelite and Hamitic nations killing giants back then, man. Now, if you think about it, we were all huge back then. We were like 10 foot, 11 foot. These giants had to have been like 15, 20. You know, when it goes into Goliath was like 15 feet. Okay? But just a little touch on history. They were killing off certain clans of giants.
Yeah, it says, and the Horites in their Mount Seir. So those are the giants that Esau destroyed with the Horites.
And he was breeding with them too.
Unto El Paran, which is by the wilderness. And they returned and came to Emishvat, which is Kadesh, and smote all the country of the Amalekites, and also the Amorites that dwelt in Hazazon Tamar. And there went out the king of Sodom, and the king of Gomorrah, and the king of Admah, and the king of Zeboim, and the king of Bela, the same as Zoar, and they joined battle with them in the Vale of Siddim. With Kedar-laomer, the king of Elam, and with Tidal, king of nations. So that's hey man. Tidal was a king over multitudes, man. And Amraphel, king of Shinar, which Shinar was a big plain. It tells you that
That's where they built Babylon.
that's where they built Babylon, was in Shinar.
Which is Ur, the Chaldees. So you think Tidal, king of nations, had to have been the Illuminati at that time. You know, up there, because he was the king of a lot of the nations. That's like a title. King of kings, well, he's a king of nations.
Yeah, that was his title.
He had power, a lot of power.
And Arioch, king of Elasar, 4 kings with 5.
4 kings versus 5 kings.
Yep. It says, and the Vale of Siddim was full of slime pits, and the kings of Sodom and Gomorrah fled, and fell there, and they that remained fled to the mountain. And they took all the goods of Sodom and Gomorrah and all their victuals and went their way. And they took Lot, Abram's, which his name was Abram at the time. So Abram's brother's son, who dwelt in Sodom, and his goods, and departed. And there came one that had escaped and told Abram the Hebrew, for he dwelt in the plain of Mamre the Amorite, brother of Esau, and brother of Aner, and these were confederate with Abram. And when Abram heard that his brother was taken captive, he armed his trained servants born in his own house 318, and pursued them unto Dan. And he divided himself against them, he and his servants by night.
Divided himself against them by night, man. What is that? Guerrilla warfare, man.
Yeah.
Okay, see, Israel, way back then, the Lord had the spirit of war on our people, man. Our forefathers were expert in war. When the Native Americans were fighting the so-called white man, so-called Native Americans, were fighting the so-called white man, they were picking them off, man. Esau had what you call systematic warfare. There was a system they made up where it had to be,
They would
all
march.
by code, law, and see,
They would march towards each other.
in unison, bring out the rifle, shoot after reload. Our people are experts in guerrilla warfare. We had tactics. So Abram split his army up into groups. That's how Esau learned to fight, was Jake. Even when it goes back to Alexander the Greek, or the Creep, the Lord put it in his spirit how to fight. And then he was watching and understanding all the other Greek armies. Because you gotta remember, the Spartans are Israelites, which were considered what? Greeks. Okay? What else you call them? Not the Athenians, the other ones. There's the Colossians, those are Israelites. And when you type in Google Colossian, you're gonna get a helmet. It looks like a Spartan Greek helmet. Those are Israelites. All right, them different sects of the Trojans, those are Israelites. Okay? When you watch that movie Troy, you can watch the new Troy. The new Troy, the head, is a so-called Negro. And Esau got butthurt about that.
Esau got butthurt about everything.
The new Troy series or movie, the actual Achilles is a so-called black man. And when that came out, Esau was appalled. He was enraged. Oh, a fucking coon. There were no coons in Greece. That's a so-called white man. He gets mad, envious of what? The truth.
Make Greece white again.
Make Greece white again.
I liked it better when it was white. It's like how Esau got mad when Black Panther came out. Wakanda!
It was hella funny too, because the other day I was at the bus station, and there was this Edomite bitch, man. She was wearing a dashiki.
God.
And I was with some Judite, and I go to the gym with sometimes. And when I seen it, I went like this to him. And then he started laughing. He was like, "What is that for?" I was like, "Look," and he seen that fucking Edomite bitch and the dashiki started rolling. You know? Jake can't have nothing, man. Okay, it tells you that Esau, he steals heritages, man.
He's still, you express a man in his heritage.
You know? He steals your house. He says he's an Israelite.
Hey, get away from him. What are you doing, man?
Get out of here. Scram, demon. Alright, read that. Fuck this devil, man.
The nerve of these people.
Why come up here trying to sift?
Yeah. Fucking idiot. Hey, but he said press a man in his heritage. Like you remember the Chappelle show when he said the cops go into his house, and then he was like, well, apparently this black man broke in and put up pictures of his. That's what Esau does. He'll break into your house He'll kill you and start putting up pictures of his family in your house and shit.
Whoa, remember that movie, 31 Hour Photo?
Yeah. Esau's just sitting in your couch drinking a beer. Hey, what's up, guys?
You got pictures of him and your family in there.
Yeah.
He automatically invites himself to be part of your family. Yeah, that's Esau. He'll oppress a man in his house, even his heritage, man. That'll be some shit. Well, that's what they did.
That's what they did.
They did that to Cad, the so-called Native Americans. They came over here, raped, robbed, stole the land, and then they put their image up in Mount Rushmore for the fucking presidents, man. Andrew Jackson.